is the 53rd episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the second to last week, of July 2011. This episode is titled The Lion Roars. CloudFocus Weekly is sponsored by Arkus, Cloud Computing Experts. And I'm your host, Jason Atwin, joining me today with lots of opinions and ideas, just bounding out of him. It's the co-host and partner, or half-partner in crime, Justin Elsing. Justin, how you doing?
Don't forget Salesforce MVP.
It's hard to forget with the T-shirt around here.
Did you write the second to last week of July because you were going to write the second week of July and then you just changed it? Or
no,
how does that come about?
I actually wrote the second to last week of July because it's like one of those things. It's not the last week. It's not like the third. It's like one of those weird weeks. I guess
Fourth
it's the third week. No, it's not.
Third week?
Yeah, exactly.
3.5
Second to last week. Why not? It sounds good to me. All right. Speaking of things that sound good to me, we have a good agenda today.
Yes, we do.
We have a Redux, our first Redux blog post, which you wrote. I'd like to hear the history of why that came to be.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that, and talk about Adobe buying one of our go-to and picks of the week. Actually, we'll talk about that. Talk about some Dreamforce news. Always, because as we do our countdown to Dreamforce, we'll talk about some Dreamforce news and what's new in the portal and things you should be paying attention to. And then Google and Apple news. We'll round up with some things being shut down and things being launched and how they may affect you in the cloud world that you live in. So let's start off with the blog post.
Yeah.
Titled
Secure Communication and Collaboration in the Cloud Without Email -Redux.
It just rolls right off the tongue.
Especially when you throw the hyphen in there.
The hyphen. Yes. So give me a little sense of why I would go to blog.arkusync.com to go read this.
Well, if you were interested in secure communication and collaboration in the cloud without email, then you would certainly want to go to blog.arkusync.com to read this. But I wrote a post about a year ago that was titled Secure Communication and Collaboration in the Cloud Without Email.
All right, say that one more time. Then.
Without the Redux.
Okay.
And someone at Salesforce, a account executive, emailed me.
You're trying to think whether you can say it on the podcast or not.
I don't want to mention her name, but...
Oh, her. That cuts down half the population.
Her. Yep.
And Salesforce account execs, that's probably like 20%, or probably down to 20% of the people now. Okay.
Basically said her name. Sent me a note saying, hey, I had a prospect, and they sent me this link, and it looks like you wrote it. And she's a friend of ours, and she said, it's about a year old, you might want to update it. So I said, oh, that's a good idea. I've never gone back and rewritten an old post that had old information in it, so it's probably a good idea to revisit the Chatter versus Yammer conversation because things have changed quite a bit over a year. And I'm happy to say that when I went back to read the post that I wrote a year ago, a lot of the things that I wrote actually came true.
Like what?
Well, I said I mentioned Chatter was a little bit behind Yammer because it was brand new at the time, and Yammer can stand alone as its own application, and you can use Yammer without using any other application. You don't need Salesforce.com. You can just sign up for Yammer, and away you go. You have a microblogging solution for your enterprise.
Yep.
And they had a lot of things. They had desktop apps. They had mobile apps. They had third-party integration. They had all these things. So I wrote in the post a year ago where Chatter falls short thus far as its integration with other third parties. There needs to be an API for building integrations, which have now surfaced. There needs to be a desktop app, which to me seemed like a must. And while it's embedded inside of mobile apps, it feels like a Chatter-specific app is necessary. Not to mention integrations with other consumer web products like Twitter or Twitter desktop-like clients. So I feel kind of good because I kind of nailed it. I even said I imagine an Air app for the desktop is soon to come for Chatter because of the Flash builder for Force.com, which I totally nailed. So I felt really good about myself reading this article. Come back a year later and, write basically part 2. Yammer has made some strides. They've done some things continuing their move towards being a very consumer web type of product. They have all these mobile apps, right, connecting through iOS devices, BlackBerry devices, SMS, which is very like early Twitter kind of style, Windows Mobile, Android. They have the Yammer platform where you can build little Yammer apps like polls, events, questions, ideas. So like you could throw ideas and vote on them and things using the Yammer platform. Interesting. So I wrote like, oh, they have all this interesting stuff, but they're coming at it from two different angles. Yammer has to build out this platform for you to build these very simple little social apps. Chatter comes on top of this massive scalable enterprise class cloud computing development platform.
So I've been told.
With the social layer on top of it.
Right.
So you can build polls, questions comes, ideas it's all there, right? And you can sort of socialize some of these things. Yammer also integrates with a bunch of other consumer web apps and enterprise apps like SharePoint. They have bookmarklets, email, Twitter, IM, Google Reader, Box.net, etc.
Wow.
So they definitely have that side really covered very, very well.
Sounds much more consumer based than Chatter ever probably wants to be.
Yeah. They also act as a standalone, but they also have the newly announced NetSuite integration that was announced at Suite World in 2011.
I think we covered it in a couple
which we
podcasts,
did, where Suite Social, the app, will be able to socialize data within NetSuite and send updates to your Yammer stream.
Yep.
So they sort of came at it from a different angle. They started with the microblogging, then tacked themselves onto the enterprise, the ERP app that is NetSuite. Chatter, on the other hand, has grown immensely over the last year. First off, they now have a standalone app, chatter.com. So if you wanted to not use Salesforce, but you were just looking for an enterprise class social collaborative platform, you can go to chatter.com. They added the app mentions, they added the topics, they added the desktop app, they added the third-party web API, they added the standalone mobile app. So like they're getting there. At the end of the day, to sum it up, I wrote that I feel like Chatter will eventually win this, if you want to consider it a this versus that, which I sort of turned the article into, just because of their tight integration with Force.com. And being on Force.com, being with Database.com, being on this big, acceptable enterprise class platform will inevitably sort of...
Right.
And I'm pretty biased.
Yeah.
So,
well,
I mean, of course I'm biased.
And I think they're definitely, it sounds like, I don't know Yammer very well, I know Chatter very well. It sounds like Yammer's just going in an opposite direction, and probably for a good reason. And I would suggest, if I were to, again, stand next, if I had my 10 minutes with Mark Benioff and I'd gone through my other 9 minutes of stuff that I would like to talk to him about, I would suggest that Salesforce stay away from the community, stay away from the public, the consumer-based Chatter, area, and really focus in on what makes it an enterprise tool. Because I again, we deal in this stuff all the time. We talk to people. I show it as an enterprise class tool. I train on it. I train people using it for an enterprise class thing. It doesn't have enough, and nor will they ever be able to keep up with what I consider the consumer base would want, right? Facebook and Twitter and all those other things, they're moving at light speeds, and they can, because their platform isn't something that people build on top of, and isn't something if Twitter decides to change the API, so what? You didn't pay for Twitter. So if doesn't move forward with a lot of stuff, Salesforce has to take in all that account. So I would, if I were Salesforce, move Chatter much more enterprise, put in all the features that we all want, right, which we're talking about, but move more and more. I still think Chatter Free was kind of weird. I still think the advertisement on the Super Bowl was weird. I don't get it from a business standpoint. I love Chatter in the enterprise. Outside the enterprise, I haven't heard a chat about it. Like, I've never heard anybody mention it ever, and they all know I'm a Salesforce guy, and I've never heard anybody come up and say, "Yeah, I'm thinking about using Chatter Free to run my fantasy football team."
But we do know of some large, in particular, a large enterprise that will remain nameless for the purposes of this podcast, that was using Yammer internally and was using Salesforce and is now not using Yammer.
Right. Well, but that again, that's the enterprise story. Right. I don't know a bunch of friends who said, "Hey, let's get together and put," or a family, or
it's a business like Arkus of
But they were
10
Salesforce
some odd
customer.
people. We are Salesforce customers.
No,
but if we weren't,
I'm saying that customer was a Salesforce customer.
Yes, but if we weren't,
show me the company that has no Salesforce ties at all, has never used it in their life for any kind of CRM.
Well, they're not,
and then signs up for Chatter Free.
Right, they're more likely to use Yammer.
So then, where does Chatter Free sit?
Don't know.
Okay, that's all I was saying. So I don't feel like it has a place. I think if it's a switch and they turned it on and they put up a website and basically it's setting up a bunch of trial accounts that last forever, great. If it's anything more than that, I'd rather they spend whatever the 3 pennies that they're spending on that on other stuff. Talk about the core. Let's talk about doing other stuff. All right. So good blog post at blog.arkusinc.com. I think there's a couple more Reduxes coming up since we get towards Dreamforce. We wrote stuff about Dreamforce last year, so we'll probably write stuff about Dreamforce this year. Speaking of Dreamforce, I'm going to skip ahead and say let's talk about the Dreamforce updates. We have Dreamforce coming up the end of August. There have been some announcements. There's a party, like a raise money party for the hospital, which they almost always throw. I think tickets are on sale now for that. And I think Alanis Morissette and Jay Leno.
And Will.i.am, of course.
And Will.i.am. He's almost become like the
Mr.
Salesforce mascot.
Chatter.
And also the Agenda Builder is now live.
The Agenda Builder is live and in effect since Friday.
Thoughts on it? Haven't used it yet.
I mean, again, we're exhibitors this year, so my agenda is going to be smaller than it normally is. A couple things. Likes and dislikes. It's got some really good filtering. It's got great search this year. The search is way better than I've seen it in the past. Like, I didn't know, even though it was in last week's blog post from the partner that shall remain nameless, the Gary Vaynerchuk session. I wanted to register because, like last year, this year, you have to register for your sessions. Otherwise, you're not getting in unless you just show up and there's no one there. But I imagine that one's going to be packed, so I wanted to go in immediately and register, so I made sure I had a seat for that. But I forgot what the session was called. So they have a keyword search, and I just typed in Gary V, and it found the session.
Nice.
I thought that was awesome. That's how it should work. That was really well done. Some things that are a little weird about it is we have this tab called Sessions with all the sessions in it.
Right.
And then we have this agenda builder with sessions. But I don't think they're the same data object.
Huh.
So they should connect in some way, shape, or form. Like, if you attend a session, you should follow that session. Or something should happen this is built on one data model. It should work that way. Like, you should be able to, once you register for a session, it should chat or something that so-and-so registered for this session, or let me chatter from the registration page for that session.
Right.
Auto follow me in, because they're going to want to do more and more this year during the session with people sitting there on their mobile device or what have you, and start chattering during the session, asking questions, what have you, and you want to be following the session that you're sitting in.
I will say, just for people who didn't go last year or went last year, the Chatter, the Dreamforce portal and Chatter is great going up to the thing. Once we got there, you're there and no one uses it.
The mobile app was not as good as it should have been.
No.
If it was better, and if Moscone could handle really getting some Wi-Fi up, because last year they said we're going to have it. It was better, but it wasn't great.
I tried downloading songs during the middle of the keynote.
It wasn't great, though. Well, that's why it doesn't work. Because people like you sitting there downloading Will.i.am songs.
Exactly.
But anyway, the mobile app should be a little better. I'm hoping it will be this year. It's not out yet.
Well, the one from last year still works.
Yeah, but there's going to be a new one.
I would hope. And last
year, I have it on good authority. There's going to be a new one.
Now you've broken stuff. Good. That's good. You've broken news right here on the podcast. I like it. I have not registered anything because when I registered using the wrong, as an exhibitor, we get booth passes. I registered as a booth pass.
You don't get the agenda builder.
I'm a booth girl this year.
Your profile doesn't allow you to see the agenda builder.
I can't even see it. So I have to switch that up.
The exhibitors aren't up on the...
They're not yet. When they're there, we will pimp that as well.
Yeah, we will.
We will. So we got two pieces of news, kind of, one up, one down, sort of changing. In the last year was a big year of purchases of acquisitions from one company to another. We had a lot of SaaS purchases, a lot of ETL tools being purchased.
Tons of them.
Boomi being purchased. We had
Cast iron
being purchased. And now it looks like, and I bet you, well, we'll see what happens to the other one, but Adobe has bought Echosign.
I don't think the other one's going to be sold.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe, but who knows why one buys the other. So we actually have implemented Echosign more than once.
A few times.
Have used it, like it. And basically what Echosign is, it was one of our CloudFocus app picks of the week at one point.
We blogged about it, too.
Basically, it integrates with, it does a lot of stuff outside Salesforce, but the really nice piece is it integrates with Salesforce. You can take an opportunity using, you can do this without Conga, but what we would do is use it with Conga Composer, generate a PDF, turn that PDF into an agreement, attach it to the agreement, have the agreement sent out to the person external to Salesforce. They could then sign it electronically through the browser. It would then come back into Salesforce and then tell you that it was signed, and la-di-da, go on with your life.
Everyone gets a copy, PDF, wonderful.
Yeah, great. Everybody gets a PDF. So there we are.
There we have it.
Portable document, whatever, PDF. Portable document.
Format?
Yep, that's good. So Adobe's bought them. So my first tweet was, well, they're, is this any better? And I think we went back and forth a little bit saying over Twitter, which is always interesting for people who want to follow that. But saying, we said their support's going to get better. I've dealt with Adobe support recently, and I've also dealt with Echosign support recently, and there's nowhere to go but down for Echosign, because Adobe support is really bad. Really, really bad. Like days long bad. Like wait in queues bad. Echosign support, while they are overrun, once they get to you, they will get to you, and they help you. As opposed to, like, at the end of the call, they just go, sorry.
Well, here's my take on this. The other vendor, the big player in this space, is DocuSign. Yeah. I think DocuSign is in a really good position right now because they can have laser focus and be really good at what they do. Right? They do electronic document signature, and they
also integrate with Salesforce.
They integrate with other systems.
Yep.
And they can have laser focus and say, look, this is what we do. We do it better than anybody, and this is what we're going to continue to do. It's likely Echosign's going to be starting to get pulled in different directions.
Right.
Integrate into this Adobe product. Integrate into that Adobe product. Do something with this new file format. Some, crazy... Build a Flex front end because why not?
I've got some sort of Photoshop file I need to be signed off on.
Yeah, digital signature, something or other. So I think DocuSign, while they didn't get purchased, I think they win, like, in this respect. Like, because they're going to have that, they're going to have the ability to stay, with blinders on and be like, nope, we're good at this, and this is what we do, this is all we do, and this is why we're good at it. Whereas Echosign, I think, is going to get pulled in different directions, just they're going to have more resources at their disposal.
Well, that's the thing, is that, with the Adobe purchasing you, or any big company purchasing you, you then get the power of their sales group, you get their inroads into enterprises. Adobe's in the enterprise. Adobe sells to enterprises all the time. They have server products. We always think of them as sort of the consumer products, but they've got lots of products, including Adobe Acrobat, like Professional, which a lot of people use. So I basically see them building it right into Adobe Acrobat, right? So it's like, it's a click away. You can then, from a PDF, any PDF, instead of going to something, you just go click, send, e-sign, which would be kind of cool if that were to happen. So I like the concept of it. From a Salesforce point of view, if they get, more money to do things, better backing, well, that's good. Again, you won't see I think a blip on the map for a year, right? It's generally about a year worth of stuff, and then you see whether they go up or down. I mean, right now we could be looking back at companies that we saw get bought and see, did they do better or worse, or are they better or worse? So interesting, but again, when a client uses a product and then that product gets bought, I of course shot it off to a couple of our clients saying, don't know if this is good or bad, but it is what it is. So another little interesting this is on the sort of downside or interesting news, because this was a big piece of Google at one point, is Google is shutting down labs.
Right. Just to be clear, Google Labs, not like Gmail Labs or like in-product experiments. Those are not going anywhere. Google Labs is being sort of done away with. And it's weird because, like, there were a lot of products that got spawned from Google Labs? Like, wasn't at one point even Gmail like a Google Labs project?
I think almost everything was at one
like
point.
Finance, all those products.
Health,
Google Labs. Well, I mean, they get rid of products all the time, so why not just get rid of the thing that
spawned all these products? I actually think this is, and the point, the clarification is, we're still going to do experimental features for our product. So you'll still get something experimental for Gmail. You still get something experimental for Maps. But I actually think this is a big loss, because this was creative. This was a way of having things come out to the market, get them picked up and looked at and used. And Google does a lot of this. They have ways of turning things on and off. I don't know. I think this is a loss. Hopefully it comes back. It seems like if I were to do a net on what Google's been killing versus what Google's been bringing out, I feel like they've been killing off more things than they've been bringing out. Right? They've killed off more products in the last 6 months, my gut feel is, than they've brought up new products, net new products. So maybe it's a focus thing, though. Hey, listen, if after all these years, Google's only 10 years old. As I think Gary Vee he said, Google's only 10 years old. It can't even vote or drink yet or drive a car, for a child. They're learning. Maybe they're learning, listen, we need to focus in on the stuff that we do. We need to focus in on our apps, the apps. We need to focus in on our big products and make those the best of breed, and not, and Google Plus is this new big thing. And,
even the name of the blog post that they announced it in, more wood behind fewer arrows.
Right.
It's like, we're going to be focusing in on a couple of core opportunities, as opposed to just, everyone just do what you want and maybe something will stick. And
I think the positive spin is, we as users of Google Apps a lot of the Google Apps, sometimes you feel it's very splintered. And we said this, I think I said this last podcast, Google feels very splintered in terms of what they do, and it's like, why are you doing that? And then they build something up and they launch it with a blog post and an announcement, and then 6 months later they kill it off, and that's what's sort of the Labs model. But I don't know let's just hope that the creativity for new stuff doesn't die away with Google Labs.
Let's just hope more products like the Wave continue to get built, and rolled out, and not killed
53 times. We actually have to find out if we did mention it in every single podcast. That sounds like
someone
a job
who's listening
is going to have to
go through and figure out if we mentioned Google Wave in every podcast.
You probably don't have to listen to the last 20, because I know for at least the last 20 we do it every single time. But anyway, moving on. That's kind of our little Easter egg hunt.
Yeah.
So the last piece of news is actually, I brought this up before the podcast. You looked at it on the blog post on the Google Wave, which I could have brought in right there, and you said to me, well, why is this sort of cloud news? And I said to you, well, this is cloud news for a couple reasons. So this is really, Apple has released their new operating system, OS X line or 10 line or whatever, however you want to pronounce OS 10.
What number is it? 7?
It is 10.7, yes.
What happens when they release 2 more?
10.8, 10.9,
10.9, and then what?
10.10.
Is it OS 11?
No, it's OS 10.10 wins.
Does OS go to 11?
It'll go to 11. I think they're obviously trying to move away from the numbering, and they're gonna hide it with cats, or maybe next time they'll do birds or snakes or something. I don't know. OS X Cobra.
Yeah,
it bites you.
Windows goes back and forth. Like, they used to use the years, but then they realize, like, oh crap, it's like 3 years later and I'm still on that year.
Yeah.
They still do it with their like Office product. Like, I'm on Office, what am I on? 2010?
Yeah. But you're in 2011.
Right, and I used to be on Office 2000 back at that big bank. I'm sure they still are.
Yeah.
And then they went to, like, letters like ME, XP,
Microsoft Bob.
And then they went to, like, Vista, which was just a word. And then now they're back to a number, 7.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, it is odd.
They don't have
they don't
structure there.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to make sense.
The branding.
So this is in the cloud world, or in the cloud computing world, this is interesting for a couple reasons. One is the first one is the way it's distributed. This is the first time that I know that a massive upgrade to an operating system with millions and millions and millions and millions of users is done via done over the wire.
Goodbye disk, hello world.
Right, exactly. This operating system comes down through the Mac App Store, which it comes in at about 3.74 gigabytes.
I downloaded mine last night.
I downloaded the day it came out. It took about 45 minutes on my connection. Other people on Twitter were saying, 25 minutes. Like, ooh, you got a good connection.
I waited till late at night when no one else was downloading it.
And that is a big, big thing. I mean, the Mac App Store. So there's two pieces of that. One is that it's distributed to the Mac App Store. The second is that it actually installs the Mac App Store, and it's now native to the thing, as opposed to before it's kind of like you could opt in or not. Now it is fully part of it, and you can see, and this actually ties in, Adobe has now put their first product into the Mac App Store, Adobe Photoshop Elements. So this is huge, having a full operating system.
Put, like, big Apple products in there.
Aperture
in there.
Just did Final Cut X, which is getting off and on reviews.
Yeah, my lady friend, who is a professional video editor who uses Final Cut, is not happy about
liking it.
She's like, why they like did a lot to it. Like they made it more. She's like, they made it like a consumer, like iMovie. Like, I don't need iMovie, I need Final Cut.
So apparently there's a big thing. I don't want to get into Final Cut debate because I've literally listened to MacBreak Weekly, spend at least 6 hours on this one topic. So I don't really want to spend any time on it. But so that's huge, I think, in the world, to say that your operating system, not only the technology behind it, not only the distribution of the content. Talk about, we talk about a model where everybody's on the same version, and that version is really controlled at the source. Well, there's another model where is that everybody's on the same version, and they push down updates to you all the time to keep you on the same version. It's coming in iOS, that they're going to come with updates over the wire, over the air, so you don't have to plug in. And now you're getting whole operating systems that are coming down over the air. I think that's huge. And you know what? It worked. I
distracted you.
Yeah, you distracted me. Putting it at the wave, and then find some thing that actually didn't mean anything. As I said, the millions and millions and millions and millions of users, a massive user base, not a niche operating system. As someone was pointing out to me in the chat, we have an online chat for our podcast? No, we don't. So anyway, I think that's huge, and to go inside with it, just that we're getting to a world where all this stuff will come down over the internet. It's ballsy from a standpoint of bandwidth. It's ballsy from a failure rate. Like, all the people who tried to download on the day, I've heard not a peep. I've heard everybody downloaded that wanted to. Think about, even if it's what percentage that tried it on that same day, that's massive. So I'm rather impressed. And then in terms of the other stuff that's in the operating system, I'm going to actually write a blog post that kind of brings OS X Lion in the cloud and talk about the different things that they've done to it to make it more cloudy, if you will. But anyway, I'm pretty amazed. And then they add the next piece into it, which was releasing new MacBook Airs. And we're big Mac fans, we're Apple fans. And immediately my thought came, because I saw this new $999 thing with an i5, Core i5 Intel chip, and I started comparing it for $1,000, comparing it to a Google Chromebook, because we've talked about getting a Chromebook.
Oh.
And hey, you want a Chromebook? But then I thought, wait a second, I can get this really, really light.
Comes
really
with an i7 too.
Yeah, there's an i5 or an i7, which is the same chip that's in these two monsters that are sitting on this table here.
Yeah.
So, but the Chromebook is Core 2 Duo. So basically, for double the money, you get one of the lightest, most battery running, the whole thing, and it's a full operating system. You can do everything. So I don't know. You have any thoughts on MacBook Air versus Chromebook?
Well, we talked about this yesterday, and you were like, we over lunch, you said to me, convince me not to buy a MacBook Air.
Oh, yeah.
I said,
I have a problem.
Oh, let me count the ways. Well, so I started asking you, and let's put this all out there. You have 3 laptops in your apartment.
Currently.
4?
3. There's one that came into the office, but it's sort of not.
So you have 3 in your in your apartment.
Yes.
You also have an Apple TV.
Yes.
Okay. You also have 2 iPads.
Yes.
And 2 iPhones.
Yes.
Okay. So let's put that context out there into the ether.
So the point is, I buy too much stuff?
Well, no, not really. So I started asking you, why do you need a MacBook Air? What would you do with it? And you were like, well, my computer, even though it's a laptop, when it's in the house, it's always like docked in like a docking station. So I want a computer to sit on the couch with or futz around with. check some email, do some work. Like, so what would you like to do with it? And you're like, I want to check some email, schedule some appointments on a calendar, maybe look at some photos. And I was like, all right, sounds like you can, either use your iPad. No, the iPad, it took a while to schedule something today. Okay.
Yeah, I tried. Well, the example was I while my computer was rebooting with Lion, I was installing it. It took 30 minutes to install, or no, less than that, like 15 minutes to install. I need to schedule something with a client, so I used my iPad, and I went into Salesforce native Safari, and it was good. I could do it. I could add people. I added people to the event, and I did it and all that.
Yes.
But it definitely took 3 times longer than it would.
For those people who are listening who are astonished, we do use the Salesforce calendar to send
and we love it. And you should all
Some
tweet
of us love
up.
it. Some of us don't.
We love it.
I don't. Anyway, everything that you were saying to me that you wanted to do was like, well, you could just get a Chromebook because really you just want the internet sitting on your lap. And you didn't really give me anything that you wanted to do that wasn't like, I can open a browser and do it.
I can give you a ton of things that the Chromebook can't do.
Yeah,
which is that I want to boot up.
But these are things that the Chromebook can't do, which is one thing, versus things that you want to do, which is a whole other thing.
That's true. But I also would say, again, I will admit completely, and if everybody's turned off the podcast at this point, I totally understand. Although we have 2 very good CloudFocus
app picks of the week coming up.
I do have a problem.
I need an Apple MacBook.
No, I think there's a problem now between my very big
between
cool,
your
powerful,
ears between your ears. There's a problem.
Powerful MacBook and my awesome iPad that I love.
iPad 2
that I love.
And your iPad 1.
I don't touch that.
Oh, okay.
That's the family iPad. Yeah.
Okay. Family iPad.
It's got boogies on it or something. So, there's something in between there that's still, I kind of want I want a tweener to the tweener.
It's called a Chromebook.
No.
I think all you need is a browser, my friend.
No. I got one on my iPad.
all you need is a browser.
Got on my iPad.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's the thing. I don't think Chromebook gets me farther enough away from, doesn't give me the functionality I want away. It also doesn't have, Thunderport to
oh my god, I don't have a Thunderbolt port on my lap at all times.
It won't connect up to my monitor.
Have you used a Thunderbolt port?
Yes, I have one right here.
Yeah, I have one right here too.
Yes.
But, I mean...
it connects up to my monitor. This new MacBook Air that I've almost purchased...
But you have a huge laptop that connects to your monitor.
But that
powerful MacBook that connects to your monitor.
But let's say I want to just grab the MacBook Air on a day and fly out the door to go to coffee, and then I want, let's go into the office.
MacBooks or Chromebooks can't. There's no video out. There's nothing to get it out.
DisplayPort. There's no DisplayPort.
Why do you need DisplayPort?
That's what connects up to my monitor.
So you have a monitor that literally only works with one kind of computer?
Yeah.
That's a terrible monitor.
No, it's an incredible monitor.
No, it only works with one computer.
All of your applications you run on this computer. They only work with one computer.
Yeah, but you have a piece of hardware that only works with one computer? That's... You really can't connect that monitor to anything but a Mac?
Yeah, I can connect it to 3 Macs in this office right now.
No, seriously.
You could probably do a thing.
Oh, okay, so you could connect your Chromebook to it.
No, because it has...
No?
Yes, you can, probably.
Oh, okay.
So I want another dongle to do that.
Okay.
I don't know what the video on it is output.
This conversation is
You've just convinced
awesome.
me to get it. You know why?
I want you to get it.
You know why?
I want you to get it because I want to play with it.
Because then you'll be jealous.
I want to play with it.
And then I'll be happy to
I'm
have
going to
2.
snap it in half.
I'm going to
snap it in half.
I'm going to get a bigger laptop to put my 2 laptops on.
I'm going to take your MacBook Air and throw it
Let's move on to
use it as a frisbee.
There you go. So let's move on. CloudFocus app pick of the week.
Let's do it.
You have exactly 8 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
So you have 4 minutes. We have 8 total. Go.
So I found this app the other day because I was looking for a CloudFocus app pick of the week on Monday or Tuesday.
This was like 5 minutes ago.
No. I actually started using this. It's somewhat functional, but it's an interesting concept. This is more of a concept pick. There's an app on the iPad, on the App Store called Sales Target. One word. I couldn't pronounce the people who made it, so I left that blank. And what it does is it allows you to log into your Salesforce instance. It's a complete third-party application, native iPad app. You log into your Salesforce instance, and it shows you your sales forecasts. So it only shows you, it reads you yours or anyone else's whose you can see, their forecast numbers. So you have to have like the ability to, you have to have opportunities, and you have to have forecasting turned on in your org.
So it literally reads the forecast.
Yeah, it just shows the forecast for an individual.
Great.
And then shows you a list of the opportunities that are in the forecast, and then allows you to chatter on them. So this is really for like an executive on the go who just wants to see, like a sales manager, who just wants to see their team's forecast, look at the opportunities within the forecast, and then get a quick update on them via chatter.
But not do anything else.
Not do anything else.
And doesn't sync them down.
Free app.
Okay.
That's all it does.
Is it like a proof of concept kind of app?
I think it might be, because it works, though. It's very interesting for a sales manager to be able to have that view on a mobile device, native app,
right,
that shows you in a nice, clean way the forecasts over the course of the year, or you can change, the range that you want to see. Like, only show me, what are we in, July? So show me July through September, or whatever you want to see, and then it shows you the opportunities in the list. Nice. You scroll through them, you click it, allows you to post some chatter, say, hey, Jason, I'm looking at your forecast. Why is this opportunity stuck?
Right.
And just all from an iPad. It's pretty cool.
And then it brings it in. It looks like it's an iPad native interface.
It's an iPad interface.
Right. So while it's pulling the data, it was pulling it.
You have to log into Salesforce.
It is displaying it back in sort of a nice iPad-y way.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's
neat. It was a neat app that I found that worked. Installed it, works. Working is good. That's usually my criteria.
Working is good. And you said, Panigrahi? You didn't want to try it?
Didn't want to go for it.
Panigrahi.
Yeah.
Panigrahi.
Yeah.
All right, by Panigrahi. And it's free, and they use that sounds pretty cool. Yeah. I will actually give that a shot.
You should give it a whirl.
Something that you would love to give a whirl.
I would. I'm so jealous. I want this now.
This is one of those where I can't wait for something, so I just put down.
Yeah, you bought it.
I bought it. Or I subscribed to it for a day. I haven't canceled yet. So this has been something actually in Europe for a long time. I have heard of.
Me too.
People who get dedicated lines from here
that I haven't heard
of. to England just so they can use this application.
Wow.
Because
I've heard of the app. I've never heard of that.
So they can't. They do some sort of spoofing or whatever because it obviously wouldn't work. So the name of the app or the new service is called Spotify, and it is. It's all these cloud music belong to us. It's all these things wrapped up together. So it is a ability to download and put onto your, to go. So it's like music to go. It is also streaming.
I have no idea how this app is legal.
Well, how are any of these things legal?
I have no idea how this one is legal.
Well,
it makes no sense to me.
Well, they take money from you and they give that money back to people, and that's the way our economy works. Anyway,
I don't know how the free one is. How
well, because the free one's very, very limited in what you can do. The free one's no different than Pandora.
Not true.
All right, let's just talk about what this thing does. So it basically allows you to. It has its own apps native for the iPhone and iPad and BlackBerry. You can stream stuff. It has a app that you can put on your desktop.
No Android.
It then reads. I don't know. It reads through your iTunes and then actually makes that available for you too to read through, which is kind of interesting. But then basically any song they have, and they have millions and millions of songs. You want to just go quick, start playing, play an album, look someone. We looked up your favorite band, Milli Vanilli, and they were we looked up your favorite band, The Band.
That's right.
So beautifully named. And they had tons of albums. You're like, wow, look at all these albums, and you just click, start playing. I will say I saw some of the songs were like. Was it premium only, or said some sort of like you can only get this. Now I bought there's 3 versions of it. So there's free,
which I'm waiting for.
Which you have to
waiting
be
for my invite
for, because they didn't want to get pounded. This would get pounded. There's unlimited, which is no advertisements and unlimited streaming of music. So you can pop it up for $4.99 a month, which I think it's a little high for just streaming music. Because again, Pandora free, but no advertisements. And I can basically go hit any album I want. So
that's the key differentiator. You can type in what you want and go listen to it on demand anytime.
Anytime. And that same song, you can play the same. You can play, Can You Stand the Rain over and over and over again to your heart's desire. And then there's a premium, which allows you to actually sync the music into an app on your device and then listen to it offline. So then you kind of can take it with you, which is what what iTunes allows you to do. So offline mode for playlists, no advertisements, and then of course unlimited streaming. That's $9.99 a month, which I've heard people say I gave up on iTunes and I just moved to Spotify because I rather I can get anything I want and it's just all you can eat. Personally, for me, I still have a feeling, I still have that thing that, it's still my music and I still like the concept of my music. I'll use Spotify to listen to stuff and kind of go, ooh, that's new and interesting. But that's what Pandora does for me too. So I don't know. Everybody I know is going crazy about it. I paid for the $4.99 version just so I could try it. That's my pick of the week. It's at Spotify.com. Give it a shot. If you can get in, you can sign up now to get invited.
I'm waiting. You can wait with me if you'd like.
Or pay $4.99. What I'm interested now is if I go in and cancel this, do I get back to free? So is it like you basically just pay $4.99 to get in once?
No, you're done for.
You think so? You think if I cancel now, they won't knock me down to free?
You're done.
Oh, we'll see.
You're done.
Anyway, that is Spotify.
We don't want you.
And that's it. That's the end of the podcast. We have, remember, go to blog.arkusinc.com. There's always new posts going up there. Next week, I'm going to post something about OS 10 Lion and the cloud. You can follow us on Arkus Inc. at Twitter and at Facebook. So twitter.com/ArkusInc, facebook.com/ArkusInc. Justin's here at twitter.com/JustEdelstein. I'm at twitter.com/JasonMAtwood. And you always subscribe to it, not in Spotify, but you can subscribe to the podcast in both the BlackBerry podcast, whatever that is, and iTunes. Go to iTunes, leave us
How about the Zoom player?
You can probably find us still in the Zoom player if you're one of the 3 people left who has one. So please do that. Leave us a review. I will tell you, get ready for, again, in the beginning of August, we're going to start our countdown to Dreamforce, and we're really going to talk about what we're doing. We are going to do a contest. We were thinking about the rules yesterday and what neat things we might do. So that'll be coming up. There will be a podcast piece of that, so you want to be listening. So subscribe now on iTunes so you won't miss it.
For sure.
Until next week, until your lion is installed, has roared, enjoy those cloudy days.